Hello YouTube. In this video I am going to speak about engine bay modifications. So this can be also named as a supplement to a previous video when I speak about engine modifications. So once I rebuild, positioned and install engine in frame, and I sorted out all the problems and issues with engine itself, I started to build engine bay around it, and at that point I stood in front of yet another pile of issues and problems to solve. So I've been thinking how to make it as much ordered as possible, and I guess I will go through the systems individually, and I will show you the changes and modifications. To do that, let me just tell you how I see a vehicle system, and during this I will entertain you with random pictures from this rebuild. So by the vehicle system, I mean, for example, engine coolant system. Now, each system has its own medium. For example, the oil system has oil as a medium, brake system has brake fluid as a medium, air intake system has air as a medium. Now, in such a system, there can be negative or positive pressure of specific medium. Therefore, each system must separate its medium from surrounding world. We call it a leak when system does not keep its medium inside. Moreover, we humans invented different variety of sensors to measure state of specific medium. For example, voltmeter to measure potential difference between two battery terminals, oil pressure sensor or oil temperature sensor, or for example EGT sensor, and all these readings are visible usually on dashboard, and they present actual state of our vehicles. Now let's build engine bay. So in G-Class this is super simple, only 4 parts involved in this action. So right engine bay sidewall, 2 nuts bolted to the cabin, sidewall itself, front frame mount. Now top cross member that holds bonnet with a lock, bottom cross member like so, bolted with 8 bolts, 4 at the side, and now left sidewall, the same situation, front frame mount, sidewall left itself, and the same 2 bolts. So super easy. Alright, so now let's talk about factory setup, as this is pretty important, and I guess we have to use our imagination right now. So this is engine bay walls. This is OM603 engine. This is factory OM603 filter. This is what's under the left fender. So this is everything that was like so over here. Now this obviously illustrates this engine bay wall, like so. Now this air filter was located over here instead of OM606 intake manifold. Now this was OM603 engine, yet another wall, second one. And this is windshield fluid tank, and it was located over here instead of this new airbox. So these are all the parts that I've deleted from factory configuration, and over here there is something that I didn't delete, and this is differential locking devices. So this is front, this is rear, and this is actually a good example of system, because this system consists of three subsystems, so electrical, vacuum, and hydraulic. So once you press a button on a dashboard, the vacuum is applied through the electrical relay, and then the vacuum is transferred into the brake fluid pressure, and then this pressure travels through the front and rear hose to differential lockers, and it locks front or rear differential. So this is something that I didn't move because well, it has a very nice place here at the right side of this engine bay. So this is factory, and this was the only constant part that I didn't want to move anywhere. Now, once you know the factory initial setup, I will try to cover intake, air intake system, and it consists of two parts. The first one is to supply clean air to turbo, and second part is that pressurized section where it goes directly to the engine, to the intake manifold. So after the swap, as you already know, as I explained, the air intake is at the right side. So once you imagine that there are all that air parts at the left side, I tried basically in the beginning mock this 4-inch piping, and well, they are really huge. So when you try to mock it like so, for example, and try to put it over here, well, you end up with really huge pipes. So this is something that is not going to work, even though if it would be over here, well, it just wouldn't work. I would also struggle to go through this wall outside. Well, so this was just pretty big struggle with these big pipings. So what I did, I decided to delete this windshield fluid, and actually I liked it a lot. It has a capacity of 9 liters, and this was like never-ending story. So it was hard times to say goodbye to this one, but I had to clear space for this intake over here. Now, I am not biggest fan of those. I mean, they are good for race, for street, but not for off-roading or overlanding vehicles. So I've seen this completely clogged with dust. After they get clogged with dust, they collapse. I've seen also engines completely broken because of very bad air quality. So this is a no for me. in this type of car. So because I want to have really clean air in this car. So now let's be honest, this is not going to be race vehicle, street vehicle. I'm just expecting like decent acceleration and decent cruising speed, like up to maybe 110 kilometers on a highway. G-Classes has aerodynamics of a brick, yet this one is lifted on suspension, it's lifted on body. It has a rooftop tent, so I don't expect anything higher than 110 kilometers per hour. That rooftop tent on the top is really whistling a lot, so there is a lot of noise. So this is going to be really enough for me. So my choice is to sacrifice some amount of performance in the sake of having like a really reliable air cleaning action. And to do that, I bought this. This is called Cyclone, and this is actually it comes from US. So this is Cyclone Air Pre-Cleaner, and this is model 9001. It has a 4-inch intake. And this is actually one of the smallest, so they are building it for those big machines. And this is actually pretty clever. So the air is sucked through the outside under the angle. So the air swirls inside this pre-cleaner and runs this fan. And then this fan through the outside force is splitting out through this hole all the dust and big particles. If you look in YouTube on this, you will find illustrations how it's working. So this is the first step of my cleaning action that I decided to have, and this is something that I couldn't resist myself to buy when I saw it. Okay, so this is almost like a coronation. Alright, so air will travel through this pre-cleaner like so with this pipe. Here you have to obviously imagine a fender, so it fits horizontal surface of fender. This one fits vertical surface of fender, and then it falls into this airbox, and then obviously through this 4-inch silicone hose from the airbox directly to turbo. And now to discuss what's inside this airbox, we have to move back in time for a while when this one wasn't painted yet. So this is my air intake solution. It consists of two filtering actions. So this is the first one, and now this is more detailed filter, I would say. So first let's measure this, and this is like 20 centimeters in diameter and 21 in length. And now let's go with this guy, and well, I was really struggling to put it wherever. So like, let's imagine this somewhere here. Well, no, 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 no. So So the only possible way was to bang this hole over here and secure it just with that cut along rubber hose. And this is how I made it. I mean, it's not my entire job, but I will show it, will describe it in a while. But what's most important is that I can put it in after just like so, and it fits. And what's most important is I don't have to take out engine to take this out. And this is actually pretty important. So yes, this is pretty easy to take it out, not scratching anything. And what's most important as well, that if I connect these two items together, I can still put it in. Now I bought this online, I mean this casing, because I found it pretty nice. I would struggle with doing this round casing. So when it came raw, I mean not painted. So it came like this. So this is the front lead seal, and this closes like so. So you bolt it with and this is super easy. And this is actually outlet, so it's like this orientated in a car, and then it goes like this to the turbine. And at that side it was closed, I mean there was just opening. And I knew that I will have to make some kind of like crazy angle. So I ended up with this piece that I fabricated, and I wanted it to be bolted, so it will bolt like this. And I made it with the bolts because if I would just weld this entire piece to this lead, then I would struggle painting this inside, and this is something that I wanted to paint inside, because there is moisture usually in the air. So I've also fabricated these 4 brackets, and this mount to this uneven surface of engine bay wall. Now this air filter goes like so inside, and I've also added these 3 catches. So once the filter is horizontal, I am not going to struggle with this filter, I mean it will not fall down. Moreover, the inside diameter of this filter is like 100 millimeters, which is pretty consistent with the 4-inch diameter of this pipe and this aluminium snorkel as well. So in overall, the idea is that the filter goes inside this casing, then you have this rubber seal, then this goes like so, then you bolt it, just yet another bolt, and this side is done, so it sits like this in a car. And But this side, I think I will silicone it. So then bolt goes like so, and yet another bolt over here, just to mock it, and this stays like this in a car. So this is the inlet, 4-inch. Then this silicone connection comes like this, and two clamps, one to clamp it here, yet another over here. I didn't make any lip because this is not pressurized section, so this is intake, and there is not going to be any overpressure. It is going to be under pressure. So once I clamped it with this, it's really hard to take it off. So I decided I am not going to do any kind of lip right now. So there you have it. Alright, so now let's cover pressurized section of air. So once turbo pressurizes the intake and clean air, it has to supply air from this point under there. So this was yet another struggle, because there is well, actually not so many places to go through. There is not so much space over here between the cooler and sidewall, and over here is the same situation, not so much space. And as well, I am not fan of mounting anything under the bumper. In off-roading and overlanding vehicle, this is just no for me. So I decided to mount intercooler over here in front of the cooler. I don't know about the consequences. I guess I will see if there are going to be any heating issues. So I've mounted this intercooler to top cross member over here. So I've fabricated these two mounts, one here the same like here, and one mount at the bottom and yet another here at the bottom, and they are bolted to this bottom cross member. So this was actually pretty easy, and as you can see, it fits very nice in front of the cooler. So the air goes out from the turbo through this silicone hose. Then I fabricated this aluminum pipe, then yet another silicone hose over here, and this is pipe that I fabricated, and this is welded into the sidewall. So it goes from inside the engine wall, then it goes like outside, and then through this reinforcement, then it is also welded here and here, and then it goes through this silicone hose into the intercooler. So I guess this is going to be cooling action. So the medium inside this is air, obviously, and I guess that every medium that is pressurized must be cooled. And on the left side of the engine is the same situation, so silicone hose, the same welded in pipe like this, goes outside for a while, and then over here it goes out. Then silicone hose, aluminum piping, and then yet another silicone hose, and then it goes directly to the intake manifold. So this is how I did it. So two parts basically to summarize: the low pressure, high pressure. So I will see how it works. Okay, so now let's cover engine coolant system, and this is actually pretty easy. Two things, actually one issue and one thing. Beginning with this, so this is a pump that supplies hot water to cabin heater, and in factory this one was located somewhere here where the turbo is now, so I had to move it over there, and I found pretty good spot to this battery heat protection, and it looks pretty alright. And my struggle was that I had to find some connection between this pump and these two steel hoses. So I bought this is 18 millimeters hose, but my problem is that when you want to bend it like more than 90 or make like even, I don't know, 180, it collapses. So this is something that I didn't like, so I guess this is the maximum radius, and it's already start to collapse. So what I did, I went to Mercedes and I bought all the possible hoses, I mean engine coolant hoses, pipes like this, and like this, and like so on. And I was lucky because once I cut this one somewhere here or maybe here, and then from this one I made these two pipes. So this was pretty clever, because as you can see, this one is already bent like so with this nice angle, and this is something that you are not going to achieve with this straight hose. And the second part is this cooler. So this is not factory cooler. This is cooler that I've ordered. So in Poland we have a company that is fabricating aluminum coolers for all types of cars, and they do different coolers like intercoolers, engine coolers, gearbox coolers, so actually everything you want. And this is aluminum, and this is thicker, so I like it. And once I filled this engine coolant tank with the coolant, I put almost 15 liters of engine coolant. So I guess it will have pretty big capacity to take heat from the engine. Alright, so now let's move on. So at the front we have elements of two systems, power steering system. So I added this cooler, and this is at the very front of the car, so this is even in front of the intercooler. So this one comes from a newer model, W463. The factory one was like in that triangular shape. It was all rusted, so I replaced it with this one, and I guess this bracket is alright. This one was alright. But this one I had to redo, so I fabricated and welded in this mount. This is aluminum cooler, so it fits like so in front of the intercooler. And when it comes to oil cooler, I fabricated this mount. So this is welded to this bottom cross member. Bad news is this is probably some kind of Chinese cooler, but the good news is that I can very easily take it out, redo this mount if I need, and install a new one. So this is not the biggest issue. Now these are two other ends of hoses, of oil hoses. These are Fragola hoses that I spoke in previous video, and these are two low profile fittings, so they take really very small amount of space, like so, and I can undo them without undoing this intercooler. So this is yet another upside of these. And what I did also is that you can see that there is pretty a lot of space between bumper that holds winch and this oil cooler. So yes, everything is stacked at the front, and the consequences of doing so are unknown. So I guess I will know the answer if there are no heating issues when I hit the road, but once I install this like so, the good news is that everything is very nice hidden under this grill like so. Now moving on to the left side of engine bay, once I deleted this fluid tank at right side, I had to add it somewhere at engine bay. And in W460, these are located at the left side. So this is what I did, so you can see the part number. This one is 7 liter, so it's 2 liters left than the from W463. So what you have to do is that you have to bang a hole over here to install this. Then you have to carefully drill like this hole to fit a pump. Then you have to drill mounting point over here and one over there. And obviously there are two more things about this tank, is that you have to put two hoses. So one goes to the front like this one, so it goes under the bonnet, and this one it goes to the back window. And there are obviously two electrical connections. So one runs the pump itself, and in W463 there is that windshield fluid level sensor. So this is something that wasn't in this tank, so I made a hole, and this level sensor comes from my factory tank. So this is something that I also installed over here. So two electrical connections must be taken from this loom over here, because here in the factory, like I explained earlier, and there was that tank over here. So I took electrical connections and I ran them like so, so you can undo them, and they go like so through here, and one goes here, and the second one of the sensor through this grommet, and it ends over here. So I would call it a sub-swap of swapping OM606 in this vehicle. So the last one is a vacuum system. So once you start the engine, the vacuum pump starts to build vacuum in this line, and it goes directly to brake booster. But the vacuum pump itself is not that much efficient. So there is a T fitting, and it goes through this wall. And in factory, they designed a tank for a vacuum in this front frame tube. But all this front mount was completely corroded, so I have to rebuild it. And once this tube was closed with such a inspection hole, actually I really didn't know what was going on inside this tube, so I deleted this vacuum tank. I cleaned it inside and painted, obviously, and I swapped a vacuum tank from W460. So together with this fluid tank, this is how it looked in W460. So this is actually pretty easy. One bolt and second bolt and third bolt visible over there. So pretty easy swap, pretty easy connection to the vacuum system. And there is one more thing. So when they split from in 1990 from W460 into W463 and 461, in 463 they added this fender, plastic fender protections. This is plastic part, and once I installed this vacuum container, after a while I tried to fit this, and this one actually does not fit anymore. So at that point I understood why they moved this container in W463 into this tube, because once they wanted to fit this plastic protection, they just did not have enough room to keep this vacuum tank. So I guess I will have to redesign, reinvent this part to keep it. So I guess let's end this video with this good news that I still have something to do, and we will see in next video where I am going to cover swapping BMW gearbox into this vehicle. And for now, thanks for watching.